What is up? Oh shit, somebody's actually watching? Somebody else is awake? Usually I get nobody this early. Right on. All right. Well, we're doing the Watcher from the What If series today. And since this is the first giant collage that I'm doing, it's kind of spoil it here a little bit, but there's no way to really focus in on one character on this fucking thing without kind of giving away. And you can see like there's Bluebird and there's a Purple Man. You see Daredevil there, and that's Iceman. I use a prep, but kind of see him. I started sketching him out. I put him up in the corner here, and I kind of put my. I guess I kind of put myself in the corner, so I got to kind of work here. It was when I was trying to plan this again. I've never done a collage this big with this many characters, so this is all new and trying to figure out how to place, where to place characters at and everything. And at this point, I think I was just running out of space and I was just trying to fill the fucking voids. But that should work. So I'm gonna finish doing the pencils here. I'm gonna paint her up. This shouldn't take too long. Like I said, this was one I didn't do a full body. I just kind of put his head up here, which is what I'm gonna have to do with some other ones going forward. But next year or next time I do something like this, I'll have a little better understanding of what I need to do. Reference photo. Not gonna lie, y'all. I need to get a freaking webcam because I use my tablet and I got a stand for it. But half the time I try to get a close-up shot, it ends up putting the tablet like right in front of my face and I can't see what I'm drawing. Let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. That works. That's out of my way. I try to keep an eye every once in a while, make sure I don't go off the camera. Any of you, if you're watching this, any of you guys watch the What If series on Disney Plus? Honestly, going into it, I didn't really have like a high expectation. I didn't think it was going to be anything like too engaging, because it's all these like alternate reality characters, in different worlds. But it was actually, I thought it was just going to be I thought every episode would just be its own standalone, but they tied them all together. And I guess, spoiler, if you haven't seen it, I'll give you a couple seconds to mute me for like a minute. Okay, for enough time. I don't want to be a dick. But, yeah, they have a storyline that is going to, well, people probably have already seen it, but the evil Doctor Strange that we saw in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer, this is where he came from. If you didn't watch What If, that's where he came from. So they're actually, I thought it was just going to be one of those standalone kind of series, but it's going to actually be canon, I guess, which is it's good. I mean, I really dug it by the end. Ultron with the freaking the Infinity Stones. I thought that was a pretty cool idea. I mean, if you think about it, you give Ultron, this advanced AI tech, the Infinity Stones. Oh my God, that everything Thanos was like that tough with them. Ultron with those things. I mean, they showed it in What If, but it's like it's so true. He's already gonna overcalculate and know everything that's gonna happen. Now you're giving him the Infinity Stones. You're kind of fucked at that point. But no more spoilers. If you want to see how they resolve it in What If, you'd have to watch it if you haven't already. I forgot what his real name was, the Watcher. It was like Uatu or something, I think. It's funny, is like the whole like first phase of Marvel's MCU, like the first couple of phases that led to Endgame, I still haven't seen all of them. I still haven't seen Endgame, just because it's like it got, everything got so spoiled right away nowadays. It's like if you don't see it within the first week, you're gonna know exactly what happens in like movies. And I still will see it eventually when I'm just in the mood. But since they did the Disney Plus stuff, I've been digging it. I know a lot of people give it crap. Some of the YouTubers that I watch, I'm not gonna name names, but again, there's a lot of guys that I watch that I don't agree with them on everything, but I still respect their opinions on a lot of stuff. I know that's scary to say. In this day and age, I can listen to somebody I don't agree with and still respect them. Oh my God. That's because I'm what's an actual liberal, not today's liberals. I'm all for free speech, listening to other people's ideas. I always told friends of mine, I'm like, if I ever get into a think tank or an echo chamber, somebody smack me, and make me realize I'm stuck in a revolving door of my own opinions coming back to me. It's like that's you're never going to grow as a human being just listening to opinions that you agree with all the time. I mean, I've changed so many opinions in the last couple of years, and it's mainly because I've never really paid attention that much into politics. Very loose. Here and there, just catching like the notes here and there. I never really actually did, sat down and try to like look into some of the issues or some of the people that are running or whatever. And being that I grew up in a Democratic family, um, I had that mindset that a lot of people that will argue with, thinking that Democrats are always the good guys and Republicans are evil, and it's just not true. It is to some extent, but I'm not saying Republicans are the answer. But what I'm saying is that Democrats by themselves aren't the answer either. There's a lot of we're all human. There's a lot being a human being, you can do some stupid shit. It doesn't matter if you label yourself a Democrat or Republican. You could still do some stupid shit, be corrupted. I still firmly believe something that would greatly benefit this country is putting term limits on the Senate, or Congress. I forgot which one it is. I've been up all night at work. But it's like, why is the president having at maximum 8 years, but these congressmen like that have been in there since like God knows when, like the 60s and 50s, like they're still making decisions for the rest of this country, and like these dudes are like 3 generations out of touch. I'm not trying to be an ass, but it's like you need, when you have, you get you get the position for your life. There's your corruption. That's how you breed corruption right there. If they only had a certain amount of limits, they can't sit in there for 30 years and taking backdoor deals and screwing everybody else over, and then smiling and blaming the other political party, and then getting your base all riled up. It's. Oh, I took a lot of sociology classes and stuff in college, and like the way people act, and I just think it's just, again, it's just my opinion. I just think it's the most ignorant thing in the world to just automatically assume the other side, they're bad, I'm not listening to them. That's like walking around the rest of your life, or your entire life, with only one eye. You know, and again, I'm not saying that either party is the answer. It's Don't ever vote party, in my opinion. Vote like people's opinions and their personal beliefs. Like you got to look into each person running and see what policies they stand for, instead of being like, oh, it's a Democrat, I'll take him. You could be screwing yourself that way. I'm not saying you always or whatever, but it's very easy to just like, oh well, he's a Democrat, I'll vote for him. And then look at Illinois here. How many governors have we had that have gone to prison? Democrats. And again, I'm not trying to rag on Democrats, but it's just pointing out that they're just as corruptible as Republicans can be. And then people make excuses. Oh, well, he's a Democrat, so he's good. It's like, okay, then explain to me why he's doing illegal shit in office like Blagojevich. And it's just people just make excuses. It's like nobody wants to hold their own side accountable. And we'll never have nice things until we can hold our own parties accountable. Sorry, I'm not trying to go on a political rant here, but I swear to God, it's like I mean, I'm sure anybody listening, you all know it's everywhere. You can't go to any shows, movies, books. It's like there's always, usually there's something, that's got to remind you of the current social status. It's like I just want to escape for an hour or two. Can I go to like a fantasy movie and just be immersed in the fantasy without the fantasy somehow coming back to today's policies? I love when people tell you too that like the whole misogynist thing and everything. I've never been called that because I think it'd be fucking hysterical. I was raised by a single mom, so to think that I wouldn't believe in women's rights is kind of, you'd be playing yourself if you said that to me. But I'm not the kind of person that has to go around telling everybody that I'm all for women and this and that. It's like, dude, I support a lot of like women's rights. Pretty, I'd say the abortion right. Again, I'm no expert, but in my own opinion, it has to be up to the women on that choice. Dude, I had this happen with my hand. It's like, what if I freaking couldn't make a decision on that and had to keep living with the pain that I was going with for like a year because some lady in Congress says no, they can't do that. I just try to vicariously put myself in people's positions on policies and try my best to see where they're coming from. And it's just, you get a little bit more perspective doing it that way, to sit there and actually think about it for a minute and try to put yourself in their shoes. Because one of my arguments, and I know it's been like brought up before, but I mean, with the abortion thing, I've always said it's like, yeah, people are going to abuse it, but just like anything else in life. But, there are cases where, somebody's raped by a family member or raped, just by somebody on the street and gets pregnant. And like, I hear people on the right, like argue that like they should have to bring that kid to term. And I'm not saying that like kill babies, but if you have a girl who was, had that happen to her and got pregnant, if she had the kid, to me, that's even more devastating because it's just looking at the kids. Probably, I don't know. Again, maybe if any girls are watching, they could tell me. But to me, I would think that every time she saw the kid, she would see the guy that did that to her, and it'd be like, I don't know. It's another single mom. It creates another single mother. And I grew up with a single mom raising me and my sister, and I see how difficult and the struggles that we all went through. And again, that puts more strain on the system of like welfare or just whatever resources, because this situation happened and it didn't need to. I'm sure somebody's listening and being like, fuck you, dude. Again, I'm a big fan of conversation and talking stuff, even though people go, oh, no. People get mad. The only time I'll get mad is if people want to get personal, which never has barely ever happened. I stay on point in arguments. I don't take anything personal, and I don't say anything personal to people to try to get them like angry. If you want to talk politics, just talk the politics. You don't need to get mad. It's a lot of times you got to just agree to disagree. Because sometimes you're not going to change your mind, or you're not going to change somebody else's mind. At least not in the moment. I think I changed a lot of the views that I had that I changed and did a complete 180 on. It wasn't because of like one person in an argument with me. It was more like just like thinking about it, like those topics getting brought up and like going and researching them and looking them up and trying to find data. And again, you got to be careful with that too. But for news and stuff, I don't even watch the mainstream. I watch a couple of different channels. I watch like Kalinsky, who's a leftist, Dorr, who's a leftist, even though some people want to say he's a right winger now, which is hysterical because he supported Bernie. And then I watch Tim Pool. I even watch Crowder. I watch people from all sides of the political party. Because when you get the story told and you go to, three different people and see how the story's covered, you start seeing more of the truth. And I'm a big believer that the reason why we are so at each other's throats all the time in this country, it's the media. They get everybody's emotions riled up, sometimes over some just total BS. And then people believe it because, it's the mainstream. They don't want to believe that, they were given false information. And I get that, it's a prideful thing, but I've pivoted. I used to be like that, get mad when somebody would like bring something up that was against my point. And then it's just like, dude, it's not worth it. It's just, if you get angry, if you're getting upset and angry, then your clear judgment and clear thinking is going right out the window. And you're not going to be making any good decisions with your mouth or whatever. So you always got to keep calm. I mean, you're talking politics. No one's like attacking you. Unless they, again, somebody gets personal, then yeah, by all means, tell them to F himself or whatever. But if someone's just talking about points that you don't like and you tell them to F themselves, in my opinion, that makes you the dick. I don't know. It's like people want to debate too, and they don't want to actually debate. They want to just like talk down to the other person. It's like the whole point of debating somebody is to try to change their mind. Try to change their point of view. And you do that by backing up your arguments with facts and sources. That's why in school they always made you get like 3 or 4 sources for like book reports. Same thing. And so many times, I mean, I share, like I said, I just shared some of the people I watch. And it's not all of them, but anytime of any discussion, any topics or whatever, I freaking stay calm. That's the trick with Twitter too. When people are like nasty and they get those trolls, I call it Gandhiing them. Just keep on point with your argument, and even be respectful, even if they're being nasty. I've had it happen a couple times in debates, and as soon as I've done that, where they're coming at me all nasty, this after you, this or whatever, and then I'm just calmly just like, and I'll say something respectful to them even after they insulted me, but then I'll follow it with more evidence that I'll support. 2 or 3 times it's happened, and every single one of those times where I've done that, the person just had nothing to say back, and they just stopped replying. It's like, okay, it's either, it's like I don't need you to say, okay, you win. It's like just, listen to people. Ew. I mean, one of the things that, I was, a couple years ago, I was in the firm camp that obviously there's a pay gap, that, men get paid more than women. I could buy into that. I totally thought that that's an actual thing. And I'm sure it is in some companies, but, and this is probably going to trigger people, but I saw that, what is it? Jordan Peterson and Kathy Newman, the interview they did where, and I heard about him on Rogan, and I heard about this interview. So I went and watched the interview. Completely changed my opinion of the wage gap, because the guy's a clinical psychologist and he's backing up. He could show the evidence. And like when you hear his arguments, it's like, I've never heard somebody bring those arguments to the table before for why there is no pay gap. He supported it with such a clear, logical explanation that it was just like, okay, he's right. I mean, one of the things he said, which is true, is look at the medical field. The medical field, that's a very high-paying salary jobs, like in that field, and it's dominated by women. There's way more female doctors than there are men. So it's like it just depends on the field you're going into, really, honestly. If there's an actual law that's like to pay women less for the same job, then yeah, that's fucking wrong. Absolutely. As long if she can do the same job as a man to the same ability, depending on what it is, like, but if they could do it to the same ability, then there's absolutely no reason for that. But I mean, I haven't seen any big cases about that. And again, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in some places. I mean, if you're in that position, leave. Get out of it. Go someplace else. Especially if it's a big company, you'll have a resume. You'll have whatever. I mean, it sounds easy just to say it like that, but that's America, man. If you don't like your situation, you can fix it. You just sometimes got to work for it. It's not going to come easy. Sorry, I'm jumping around here a little bit. I started penciling this down. All right. Just the problem. I suck at talking and drawing. I lose focus. Okay, let me just. I'm probably gonna go with this one. Okay, circle template. This one will be the right size. Yeah, it'll work. It's kind of hidden here. Oh, is it even worth it doing it? China emblem? See, this is where I kind of screwed up. Not thinking about planning stuff out ahead. I got Bluebird here, which is coming up towards the end of the month, and she's got yellow blonde hair. And the Watcher has an emblem on his chest that's gold. So that's gonna kind of look stupid. So I think I'm just gonna leave it without his emblem. I'm just trying to draw a little bit of the robes here. I'm not gonna go all the way. I think he's got what color is his robes? It's a dark blue. It's like a blue. Well, see, his robes are blue too, like that. But I'm gonna have to make it. He's got different versions. I can just give him a different color cape. Okay. Okay, there we go. That's a good angle. Almost done with the pencils, and we're gonna give them a quick paint. Oh, you know what? I forgot to share the link. Not that I think anybody gonna watch, but you know, makes it a lot easier to stay engaged with what I'm doing if someone's in here in the chatting with me. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just talking to myself, like I'm doing now. Let's see. Any other characteristics here? Getting. I'm gonna try to paint him like this. All right, time for paint. Give me 1 minute to go set paints up and get some fresh water. Okay. Oh, if anyone's interested, I got these I bought these clamps. It's mostly for like watercoloring. When I'm to hold the pages of like sketchbooks and stuff or watercolor books. But these little clamps come in handy because you don't have to waste as much tape because I could just clamp my scrap paper right to my table. But they come in handy. They serve all. They're actually pretty useful. They're really cheap. So if you got got a lot of shit on your drawing table, it helps organize some stuff a little bit and keeps the table from getting all taped up. Okay. I can never tell. It says one person's watching, but I don't know if it's saying it's me. If anybody's out there watching, just type anything in the comments. I'm just curious to know if someone is watching or if the one person watching is just it's picking me up. All right, my brushes. I got these I forgot what they're called. This it's a little travel set of synthetic watercolor brushes. Like they're called Richardson, Jack Richardson set. I think this was like, if you do watercoloring, I highly recommend this little set. I saw, if anybody knows who James Gurney is on YouTube, he does a lot of the gouache paintings and stuff. He uses this set. That's where I heard about this set, and I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. And yeah, it comes with 6 brushes here, but you know, this case is kind of key because I can set up my my tripod, or stuff like this. I can hang up here on the end of my table, you know, because it's weighted on that one part and it holds it down, so it sits there nice. But yeah, I would they're really good brushes, not expensive. Definitely get your money's worth for them. Jack Richardson. All right. Sorry, it takes a minute to get everything where I need it to be to start painting. Which palette am I going to use? I got so many flipping palettes too, but this is my main one right here. And then I have it's gone somewhere. I have a travel one that's like it's seals. This is my main palette when I'm at home. And again, I was talking about the clamp. I don't want to have to get up and get another one, but I'll hold the palette on my table. Actually, my older table, my first drafting table, it's in my bedroom. I don't know why, but doing this same thing on that table makes the palette like completely flat, because here it's a little bit of a dip, which is not a big deal, but it actually works better on my older drawing table, drafting table. I gotta kind of figure out his robe color here, because again, I don't want it to match that blue in the picture I was just using as a reference. It kind of looked like a purplish blue. Yeah. Again, I didn't really plan this out well. I got like 3 characters that are all blue, like right next to each other. It's not the best positioning, but I'm learning. And I'm not afraid to screw up. Honestly, that's how I've been teaching myself art, is like doing the things and being like, okay, I totally screwed that up, and then remembering what the screw up was, and then going into the next drawing and being like, okay, don't do it that way, and try to find another way, even though that might fail too. Just a lot of it's trial and error, especially if you're self-taught. I mean, the fact that I love doing this stuff so much, I really want to kick myself in the ass for not like getting into this when I was younger. I think about that all the time. I was like, man, if I would have started drawing in like high school, even at this point in my life, I'd be, like My plan right now is to buy 50. Be like, damn, that dude's awesome. Again, I'm trying to keep it on camera. It's a little difficult with this big ass freaking painting. I didn't even measure out what this paper was. I just had it left over after I cut it down. So I'm gonna have to figure that out when I'm done. Because even if this turns out like complete absolute dog crap, I'm still probably gonna frame it because it's the first real STANuary where everybody's going, and I want to do this every January. So it'd be nice to start saving all these, and then every year I can look at them and see my progression. Which I do in general. If you're new to art, always keep your old ones, even if you think it's absolute crap, which it probably is. Keep it, because you keep the old art, and when you like, say you draw, for instance, a Daredevil, and it looks like crap. You're a new artist. Keep that crappy drawing, and the next time you do Daredevil, compare it to the older one, and then you can kind of gauge how you're progressing as an artist, because you don't it's just like anything in life with any skill, you don't really feel yourself. Like, it's not like a switch goes off and all of a sudden you're good at it. It's like a progressive thing, but that way you can actually have something physical to look at to mark your progression. I mean, Tyler from Draw and Talk, I didn't do one this year actually, now I'm thinking about it, but because I started drawing about 3 years ago. And me and him, when I first started talking to Tyler, we did a little stream with just me and him where we drew Green Lantern. And then the next year I had the idea, I was like, I should just draw Green Lantern. Like, it came up on my timeline like 1 year ago today. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I draw a Green Lantern again? And then I should do that on forgot what day it is, but every year on that day, draw that character. And then go back and look at my older ones from the past couple of years. I find that extremely beneficial because then you can see where you screwed up and be like, okay, this one looked good, this one looked bad. So do that with the leg next time, yada yada. Oh, sure hope somebody comes in the chat. I hate talking to myself. I feel like I'm going crazy. And again, okay, let's figure out this color now. Deep purple. Where is that one? Actually, you know what? I just showed you that Richardson set. You know what? I have this black velvet watercolor brush. These are expensive. I was just debating if I was going to use it because it holds so much more water and paint in it. I think this one's squirrel hair as opposed to synthetics. But I was always told early on with the painting, starting off in painting with gouache, that synthetics are better to use, especially at first, because you get a little bit more control of the water because it doesn't hold as much. So, and I see what they mean, because when you have the nicer brushes, if you just go into it right away, you'll glob like all this freaking water all in one spot, and it's like a puddle. But if you know how to use those brushes at first and get the right consistency, you can paint a lot longer without having to go back to the palette. God, Impractical Jokers on TV. How is that show still able to go? It's like, that's got to be like how Borat was, or Ali G show. It's like at a certain point, everybody's going to know who those guys are. So it's like they're not going to be able to pull it off. I mean, I can't believe they've been able to go this long. Kudos to them. But I think I just read the other day that one of the guys from the show just left. I can't remember which one it was. pink, deep purple. These are great too. They're little like plungers. You buy like a set for like $2 at like Hobby Lobby, and it's got like 20 of them in there. They're good for if you you ink and you ink with like a brush or a crow quill. All right. So I don't want it full purple. I want. There we go. That kind of looks like it. I did that in 2 tries or 2 paints, and I think I already got it. I'll see. I might need to be a little bit more purple. Nope, that's it. That's pretty much what it looked like. All right. Now, I might have to fucking move the board around while I'm painting here. Right there, like the tablet's in my face. Don't work. There we go. I got a lot of water on this one. The thing with brushes, if you ever use them, anybody or wants to try using them, there's a sweet spot on a brush where it's got that just that right amount of ink or paint to water ratio. And that's what you're looking for every time you go into it. You don't want to go into it with too much water on it at first, especially the first layer. Tell you what, though, if I can ever get the money and justify doing it, which I might be able to. I just got to rebudget some stuff. I really do want to take like a painting course. Like there's a college right by me, a community college over here, and been kind of interested in, getting a professional, like a teacher to actually teach me some stuff instead of trying to figure it out on my own. Because it's like, when you have a teacher teaching you certain things, you're not spending months figuring out what they just taught you to do in like a week, maybe less. I do. I was doing a course on Skillshare, which does help. That's If anybody hasn't used Skillshare before, it's really beneficial for a lot of things, not just art. But yeah, if you don't know what it is, basically like online courses for specialty stuff. It's like if you're like a carpenter, you know how to do a certain task. A lot of guys go on there and like they do like a course teaching like how to do carpentry. But I was watching it. I watched two. I did two. Yeah, I did two different gouache painting little course things. Not all the way through. I gotta finish. Because the thing is, it's like they give you kind of like homework to do, and then they have a community there where you can share your art, and then you can get your critiques from your teacher and other artists. I know that's probably scary to a lot of people, but you gotta be open to criticism. Oh shit. Oh, no, okay. Why not? This is how you remove a fuck up in gouache. The beautiful thing about gouache is it reactivates, so you can dull it back down on a mistake, and then when that dries, I can go back in with another color and it'll cover it up. I mean, there can be negatives to that too. Especially if you're working in layers. If it gets too wet on top of a layer that you've already put down in gouache, it could start coming through. So you got to kind of be just like quick and precise when you're adding more layers. At least from what I found. I bet you there's like a painter that's watching this like, no, you idiot. Okay, we gotta let that dry. So, I can do the rest of the robe down here. No, this brush is fine. This is what number is this? A number 8 brush, 8 round brush, which is kind of a large one. I have smaller ones for like little stuff like this, but I've been using brushes for a while now that even with some big brushes, like surprisingly or not, this is another black velvet. This sucker, it holds so much water. Like it's insane how much water and paint comes off this thing. But you see how it's designed with that point right there? When this thing gets wet, I can make like lines like that with it. It's hard, but it can be done. I've actually seen some YouTube videos of painters that use that exact brush, and that was where I first saw it, was some video. She did this whole painting basically with just that brush, and even like a lot of the fine detailing. And I was just, it's not the brush, it was her, because she was talented. But that brush she was, talking about how it's got that real point to it, unlike most like big flat brushes. Like that one. That's a big flat synthetic number. That's an Angler Shader, the 3/4. Had no idea what I was buying when I bought this. This was like one of the first brushes I bought. I'm like, yeah, it looks good. And I still use it. It actually does serve a purpose. Every brush I have serves a purpose, even if I don't use them regularly. Old brushes, when they get frayed, are great because you can get, if you're looking for cool textures and patterns, like in the art or the page or a comic page or whatever, if you're trying to make like just effects, the old brushes that have like crappy tips, like those things are they do work really well. Like for instance, I have these horsehair brushes. They're Japanese calligraphy brushes, with like a set of 3. But you can see how this tip is. I mean, it's not nothing fancy, but this brush in and of itself, because of those hairs, if I'm painting grass or blades of grass, I can get it done in 3 times faster than just like a regular, round brush like that, because it's beneficial. Never throw away your old brushes unless they break. Even if you've had the brush for freaking 20 years, someday you'll need it. Usually. I have, is it here? Nah, it's in the other room. But I have, well, it's this right. This is my inking brush, but it's the same thing. This is the second. It's a Series 7, Winsor Newton Kolinsky Series 7 number 3. It's the second one of them that I bought. And I've had this one now for about a year, and it's still good as new. You just got to take care of it and clean it. Make sure you get the ink out of it when you're done inking. I got the solvents and stuff too, and I'm anal like with my brushes. Like as soon as I'm done, paint's not so much on the synthetic side, that doesn't bother me, but my Kolinsky's or my sable hair brushes, like soon as I'm done with those, they go through the ringer getting washed. Because I heard when I first started doing art and I was getting interested in brushes, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Doug TeNapel, because I know he uses an ink brush. But I was that or Sean Gordon Murphy. There was somebody on a YouTube video or a stream that was talking about the Series 7 Kolinsky brushes, and if you take care of them, and clean them and don't treat them like shit, they'll last a super long time. And it's very true. Though I have been thinking about buying another one, just so I have a backup whenever that one I showed you eventually starts to go, which hopefully won't be for another year or two. So I will we get somebody in the chat. How you doing? It looks like you I don't know how to translate that. I don't know if there's a way to translate it here. Well, thanks for stopping by. If you're not a troll or a bot, sometimes they show up. But if you're a real person, you're sitting here watching. Hello. I think that'll do it. As far as the purple blue, I might have to come back in when this dries, so that way it's, because on this Bristol board, when I'm painting it does this where it looks streaky on that first layer, and I used to think I was doing something like it always looked like shit, and then like I would give up on paintings, but I found that as long as it dries and you keep working it, add another layer, especially if it's the same color, then you don't have to worry about picking up the underneath layer. It will start to fill in solidly with like a matte finish. This whole entire year, I've been so focused on just painting. I haven't done any real comic stuff, but I have big, uh, something really exciting coming up after STANuary is over. A good friend of mine, Sam, he's had stories he's had for years that he wanted to write a novel, but when he found out that I do actual art and that I got into this because of comics, and I have so many people that I know that I'm always talking about, like, we should make a book, blah blah blah. And Sam's the first one that was like all gung ho and like hell yeah about it, and his story's already he's already got the story like fleshed out. We just gotta you know fix some certain details, figure out like how the ending will come out. I mean, he has an ending. We just got to figure out how to execute it. We just started basically doing this yesterday. He came over yesterday, and we started from the beginning of going through, the stories that he's wrote or the little notes that he's had for the past couple of years that he's been doing, and we figured out which one we're going to start with, and I was kind of giving him like how we got to do this. He's done screenplays, I think he said. So I told him, I was like, if you've written screenplays before, then writing a comic script is essentially the same, very very similar. I mean, there's a lot of comic writers that their scripts are and done in like a screenplay format type of thing. But it's, again, there's no right or wrong way to write a script, as long as if you're writing the script for somebody else to draw, as long as they can understand what you're saying to them in the script, even if it's not like the most detailed or the most precise, as long as your artist understands what you're trying to say to them, that's all that matters. Because no one's going to read your script. The only person reading your script is either going to be you, if you're your own artist, or the artist that you hire. So it doesn't need to be like perfectly everything. Like, you don't need to do Alan Moore, where you got to detail every single thing in every frame. Like, the coffee mug here is facing north, and this fork is facing south, and it has a speck of rust on it. It's like, even though it has nothing to do with the story, but that's just his style. And I can see how that can be beneficial as an artist, because sometimes you get scripts and you're trying to interpret what the person's saying, because sometimes it's vague, and you can end up doing something completely different, or not understanding what they were trying to say to you, and then drawing something that is basically a waste of time. But if you got somebody like Alan Moore, who's so damn detailed with his script, like, you don't even need to think about it. He's gonna he's gonna tell you in the script exactly how it's got to look. But that does also take the storytelling ability away from the artist too. Again, there's times where you just want to draw. You just want to turn your brain off. Give me a script. Let me just see what it is, and I'll draw it, instead of having to come up with everything yourself. But yeah, I'm glad my buddy's into this stuff, because that's what I've been wanting to do for a while now. Is I've been wanting to work with somebody. I know Britton. I mean, Britton was a young kid. We were trying for a while, but I think he's got his first book out. His buddy drew it for him. But it's like, me and him were both, completely new. Even though I was a lot older than him, we were in the same boat as far as, trying to figure out how to do this comic book thing. And Britton, if you ever watch this, one of these days, dude, one of these days before I die, we're going to do a book. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this title under my belt first with Sam. And that way I can start getting my foot in the water with the rest of you guys. Crowdfunding and everything. I never got into this to make money. That wasn't like why I wanted to start drawing. I honestly, the reason I got into drawing and comics or writing, wanting to make one, is as simple as I want to leave something of me behind after I, leave this earth. I want something that's going to live on after I'm gone. Something like that. It might sound a little cheesy or whatever, but maybe not. But yeah, that was the whole point of wanting to make a book. I mean, it was cool. I wanted to make my own book too, but that was the main driving force. Is this is something I could do? I can, I always told stories when I was a kid, in like different formats. I used to write these little books and stuff when I was a kid, but never got into comics, which is like amazing. I think it was just because it's really your social group, the people you hang out with growing up. And I was a jock growing up. Everybody, all my friends, we all played sports, baseball, football, basketball. That was my main thing. That and music. I wasn't the greatest musician, but I loved, I played bass and drums, and I love music in general, just like the deep dives of it and finding bands and old school shit. Ooh. Yeah, see how this is like starting to actually fill in now? It's a little less streaky. Except I should have. I could still see it a little bit. There's folds in the clothes here. I could still barely see my pencil lines. I should have done the blacks on that first, but tis what it tis. I could go get my hair dryer. Definitely makes the drying process a lot quicker. Right, where else do I gotta go here? Okay, so this is all. You know what? Her hair's yellow. Maybe if I do gold, because I have gold gouache, that might. Screw it. Gotta take chances doing art. Sometimes it's gonna fail. Sometimes you'll hit gold. If you just go into something completely unknown, like I don't know how this is gonna turn out, and you do it, and you're like, holy crap, that's awesome. I do that every once in a while. If I'm drawing something, I'm like 99% of the time I'm like I hate it, and then sometimes I'll do a drawing, and then when I step back and look, I'm like, oh, hey, that actually looks good. And that's the hardest thing as a new artist, is being able to look at your art and be like, yeah, that's pretty good. Because everybody can probably relate to this. You're your own worst critic. And I think that's one of the biggest mental blocks when it comes to starting making comics or anything in general, music, whatever, is that, you know, you don't know how it'll be received, from people. And that can make people nervous. I don't really feel that. I don't feel nervous. It's like if I put a book out and it sucks, then it sucks. Whatever, then the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to listen to what everybody says sucked about it, and then I'm going to go and make another one using those things. Even if somebody's telling me I suck, I'll if they're giving me something that I could use as okay, maybe I should improve that. I'll take it, even if they're being an ass. Which that I don't get. It's if you don't like somebody's art, that's fine. Art's subjective, but to actually like actually want to have to tell them that they suck, like why? You know, I would say that the only people you should tell that suck is if somebody has like become like famous or the it thing, and it's like terrible. Like something mainstream that's just like nobody likes. Yeah, then I might be like, yeah, you suck. It's like, but you have a lot of money, more than I'll ever have, but you still suck. Nah, actually, no, I take that back. I probably would. I would if it got into like a debate type of thing. I don't even know if I would then, because it seems like a dick thing to say. Now that I'm like that I do art. Me again, I'm thick-skinned. I grew up in Northern Illinois, and dude, all my friends growing up, that's all we did. It was just a constant, like, ripping of each other, just making fun of each other. So that's why I don't really get offended. That's why it's funny. Like, I am considered a millennial. I was born in '83. Oh, but I say there's two different kinds of millennials. there's millennials that are like around my age who grew up without the internet. Like when I was a kid, I used to go outside and play in the street and like pick up sticks and like my imagination would take over. And me and all my friends like growing up around here, like that's what we did, ride our bikes, whatever, go out. Our parents weren't freaking out. We'd go outside on our bikes and we'd be gone the whole day on the other side of town. As long as we were back home when we were supposed to be, then nowadays it's like every damn kid's got a GPS tracker on them, and they're not allowed to go like 10 feet outside. I think Bill Burr did that on one of his stand-ups. He's like something you don't see anymore. You don't see kids playing anymore because everybody's just keeping their kids inside. He's like, yeah, you remember that kids used to play? And then, like I was saying, there's those millennials, and then there's the millennials that grew up with the internet already here. And I think those are the ones that have. if you're one of them, you're watching. I'm not talking shit. This is just a harebrained theory I have. But it was the ones that were born with the internet already in existence. I feel that the ones that are my age developed more social skills because we were outside playing. There was no internet, in the 80s and all that shit. So it built more character. And nowadays, like with the kids that were born with the internet, so many of their friends and people they know, are from online. I mean, example, my sister, her ex-boyfriend years ago, they met online when she was in Wisconsin, he was in North Carolina. I mean, they dated for a while. I mean, they're not together anymore, but it's, I thought that was crazy too. I'm like, how the hell do you meet a dude from North Carolina? I was nervous about it. I'm like, this doesn't sound right. But well, I guess it turns out he was a douche, but they did date for a couple years, so it wasn't like a bad. It wasn't like a murderer. But yeah, it's just I don't get that. I get online dating, but online dating for somebody who's like 10 states away, you don't know, that's weird. And then to just upend your whole life. He actually moved from North Carolina all the way to Wisconsin and lived with them. That that's when I was like, well, that's weird. But like I said, he wasn't at least to my knowledge, he wasn't like, they just didn't get along at the end of it. I think he cheated on her. Who knows? But he turned out to be a douchebag, but not like a violent douchebag. Okay. Okay. Let's figure out his skin color now. I think it's a dark brown. Yeah, it's like a brownish. This is it right here. I'm probably gonna be switching now. Oh no, this will work. I think I should cut it white. Instead of lighten it a slight bit. There we go. That looks more like it. Yeah, and if you ever start painting anybody, take your time when you're mixing your paint. Take that extra time to make sure you got that paint exactly the color you want. Because sometimes you can get overzealous and start going in, and that's why you got to have the scrap paper so you can see how it is when it lays down on paper. Even though these are two separate kinds of paper, but all right. So I guess nobody is watching because nobody said anything except for that person who looks like they're of Asian descent because those letters look Oriental or Asian. Here we go. Watch. It's not, and I'm gonna get canceled. Canceled from what? I don't know, but my towing job. That's what's funny. It's like if it ever happened, other people call people's businesses and try to get them fired. Somebody actually did that to me and called my bosses and like, something he doesn't like this race of people, which would be a lie, but my bosses would tell him to go fuck off. They wouldn't even consider. They'd be like, yeah, you can screw yourself. Like, what just happened? What did I just see? A story the other day. Oh man, give me a second. Let me think about it. It was the same thing where, oh, that's what it was. It was some lady who was on a flight. She saw one of the pilots. I forgot what company, United or something. She saw the pilot, his luggage, and on his luggage he had a like dime-sized pin that said "Let's go, Brandon." Making fun of Biden. And she lost her fucking mind and called the company to wanted him fired and stuff. It's like, lady, get a life, man. It's like this, the people that get upset with the "Let's go, Brandon" thing. It's like, you idiots, do you not get why the conservatives keep saying it? It's because you guys keep freaking out. If you were just like whatever and ignored it, this would have probably ended already. But it's like you guys have the most adverse reaction to them saying "Let's go, Brandon." Meanwhile, for 4 years, it was nonstop shit talking about Trump. But somebody says "Let's go, Brandon," and people lose their mind. That's why I hate certain people. It's just like, God, man, you're not helping society. You're not helping. You're not helping at all. It's like there's so many more pressing issues in life than your pilot having a "Let's go, Brandon's" like pin that's like the size of a dime. But that's the state of the world we're in. There's a lot of politicians I don't like either, but I don't attack them with like dumb, like, ho ho. I'll go after them for real crap that can be proven. I think we're good. Okay, I'll let that dry. Get this last little bit off the brush. Oh, that's what I forgot to say too. When working with gouache, you want to work fast because it dries fast. And that's how you keep from having all those brush strokes in here. You can move fast with it. Because as soon as it dries and I come back over, even with the same amount of paint, it'll have a different tone to it. It'll darken it a little bit. So that's why you want to get everything that you want covered fast, or it's still all wet. There it is. See how that's like matte finish right there. And gouache too. It The darker colors, like this here a little bit, it's going to dry lighter, and the lighter colors actually dry darker. It's weird, but it's how it is. Oh, look, another bot. They're all coming from Twitch. I don't even use Twitch. I just set the account up. I don't think I've actually ever even visited the site, but I know I stream there when I start doing my videos. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna spend an hour and a half. Decisions. Okay. I think I'm gonna call it for now because my dog is giving me that look that he needs to poop. All right, Gunner. Gunner. Oh. You gotta go out? Yeah, see? All right, well, if anybody watches later, because I don't think anybody was actually watching when I was doing this live, which I don't expect at 4 in the morning. Well, it's 7 now, but anyway, if you watched, thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Let me know you saw the vid. And I will see you guys soon for another STANuary prompt.